What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update. And let's start off with the Tanguy Ndombele update. Very similar to the update that we got from Turkey yesterday, but this time it is from the Mirror, saying that Tottenham are finally set to cut their losses on midfielder Tanguy Ndombele, with the Turkish club Galatasaray aiming to get him for around £11 million. The French midfielder moved to Spurs from Lyon in the summer of 2019 for then a club record fee of £55 million. Don't cry, Sim.
Look, it is what it is. If they're willing to take on the wages, we know that we need to trim the squad. We know that Lo Celso's come back into the reckoning by surprise, I would say, and he's showing a willingness to be here. And unfortunately for Tanguy, he did get injured on pre-season tour and wasn't able to show what he could offer on the pitch. Lo Celso kind of took that mantle and ran with it. So I think it does leave the option for Tanguy to leave. And I think if he's happy to go to Turkey, they're happy to take the wages. I know it's a small transfer fee, 11 million. It's not big, but unfortunately, we need to trim the squad. The squad is way too big. So I think it just makes sense for everyone, as long as if Tanguy does want to leave. I personally, with the quality Tanguy has, I would like to have seen him get another chance, but I understand that he's been here a long time, and it's probably, I understand if we all want to go our separate ways at this point.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is not getting a fee in for him, or a big fee in for him. The main thing is getting those wages off the books, in my opinion. I think it will do us the world of good. And loans every year wasn't really helping anyone. So to finally get him off the books on a permanent transfer is absolutely music to my ears. So hopefully this deal can get concluded sooner rather than later. But let's move on to a potential incoming, and that is Ashley Phillips. The Evening Standard are reporting that Tottenham are expected to wrap up the signing of highly rated Blackburn centre-back Ashley Phillips by the end of the week. Blackburn's ploy to get a higher fee has backfired. Blackburn upped its asking price to £9.5 million, which was £5 million plus £4.5 in add-ons at the 11th hour, in a hope of sparking a bidding war for Phillips before the £2 million release clause in his contract became active, which does become active on Friday, on the eve of the new championship season. The defender was set to join in a deal worth up to £5 million before Rovers almost doubled the asking price, but Spurs will now get their man for less than what they originally bid for, and that is £2 million.
So you got to say done well on this one. I think in hindsight, it was probably fair to say no to the increased price, especially knowing that this clause was coming up. I think Blackburn tried something, and I think they've been left with a bit of egg in their face. If they were looking for a bit more money, they were better off accepting the original deal instead of turning around and doubling the price overnight. They're now not going to get as much money as they were. So I think Spurs have done a good job on this one financially. So fair play, credit where credit's due.
So Blackburn tried to Levy, and they ended up getting Levied himself.
Exactly.
Let's move on and let's talk about two players that we did speak about in yesterday's update again, and that is Franck Kessie and Clement Lenglet. 90 Min are claiming that Tottenham are weighing up moves for Franck Kessie and Clement Lenglet. Talks have taken place with Barcelona for separate deals. Kessie is a long-term target. Lenglet expected to be a backup option if they can't acquire Edmund Tapsoba or Mickey van der Ven. I love it how you're looking at two quality defenders and then a massive drop to Clement Lenglet. Where's all the in between?
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. You should have backups which are maybe not as, doesn't have to be as high up as Van der Ven or Tapsoba, but much better than Lenglet. Someone who's younger as well, with a higher ceiling. There should be other options apart from Van der Ven and Tapsoba. I think if they're too expensive, we should do what we did with the Raya deal, have Vicario lined up as a cheaper alternative. I'm not completely mad at that, as long as we're moving swiftly and there's still a player with a high ceiling and high potential. At the moment, it seems that we're keeping Van der Ven and Tapsoba on ice and waiting further developments, which is very, very frustrating. Hopefully that can all be sorted out as soon as possible. But I just don't want to be here at the end of the window and Lenglet's brought in through the door. I just think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's necessary at all. So I don't think there's any point to it. In terms of Kessie, I think it would be a good signing. I think he'd be a good replacement for Højbjerg. I think he improves the technical level a bit in the midfield. So I'm all for it, but Juventus in the race as well. I don't think it would be our first choice, but if you want a Premier League move, I think we would be a viable option for him.
In terms of Franck Kessie, when you're looking at that transfer, if he does come in, what is your starting midfielder, and does Kessie come in as the 6 or the 8?
I think he comes in as an 8, to be honest. I think he's actually like defensively not that impressive. In terms of like his stats, I've looked at it consistently. He's in terms of like the number of tackles and stuff he makes is not usually very high up in terms of like comparisons across a lot of midfielders.
I thought it was higher than Højbjerg though.
No, it wasn't.
Was it not?
Similar to Højbjerg.
Right.
Højbjerg's also not like that high up as well. But I think when it comes to his technical ability, I think he's an improvement on Højbjerg. I think he's much better on the half turn, and also we saw that he can contribute a bit more final third contributions. He did used to take penalties for AC Milan, if I remember
he did
as well.
Yeah.
So he's got quite good technical ability. Would I trust him in the number 6? I don't know if I would, to be honest. I think he's more of an 8 than a 6.
I'm kind of feeling the same way, but I did think that his defensive output was fairly strong. I don't know. I must be mistaken on that one.
Not according to the stats. I don't know.
All right, and let's move on to Lucas Moura. He did leave the club on a free transfer, and he's finally found a new club, and it was no secret. I mean, we all knew it was going to go this way, as Romano has confirmed that Lucas Moura has agreed to join Brazilian side Sao Paulo on a short-term deal. He'll be playing with James Rodriguez. He'll be playing with James Rodriguez. Lucas Moura just formally signed the contract, a very short-term contract, only until December 2023. But as of now, he is a Sao Paulo player. Documents completed, official soon as former Tottenham winger signs the contract. So that's done.
Good luck to him. I would have thought he had one more move in Europe left in him before he goes over back to Brazil, but I think it's something he always wanted to do at some point, and maybe now's the best time. He hasn't had a good time over the past couple of years, so maybe some home comforts would do him well.
Yeah, I always thought this was supposed to be the plan, him going back to Brazil after he does leave Spurs, and we wish him the best of luck. He gave us some very big moments from the stands. So, all right, and moving on, and this is a bit of a strange one. Bild have offered a scathing assessment on Harry Kane in their article today. The German news outlet Bild have offered a scathing assessment on Harry Kane, and they say he can't play in congested penalty areas. He doesn't work in a possession team in the way that Lewandowski did. And Bayern targeting him is just merely a marketing stunt.
It's very odd that they would come out with that, considering apparently in Germany, Bild are considered basically the Bayern press, essentially. They're a mouthpiece of the club for a lot of the time. They've been so on the bandwagon of forcing Kane to Germany, to Bayern Munich. We had that Bild reporter at the press conference taking a Kane Bayern shirt and displaying it to Postecoglou and doing that, kind of saying how good it looks. And now all of a sudden there's an article on Bild's website from a German reporter saying that Kane isn't worth the 100 million and he would advise against it. And I think it's very interesting that they're starting to kind of pump out that kind of opinion piece right now, just after a meeting where it seems the valuation seems to be very far apart between Bayern Munich and Tottenham. And now they're claiming Bayern targeting Kane as just a marketing stunt, which I do think partly it is, considering you had all the people from the Bundesliga saying how good it will be for the Bundesliga to have someone like Kane, and they've wanted a big name to replace Lewandowski for a couple of years now. So, I mean, for what they're saying, I don't agree. He can't play in congested penalty areas. I do think he can. I just think he hasn't done it for so long, but I do think he's still capable of doing it. He doesn't work in a possession-based system. Again, I think Lewandowski is better right now in a possession-based system than Harry Kane. It doesn't mean Harry Kane can't do that. And in my opinion, Kane has got so many world-class... He's world-class at everything, essentially. So I think he can adapt his game to do a lot of stuff. So for me, I don't agree with what they're saying. I think they're maybe putting the feelers out to kind of... I don't know if they're putting the feelers out to kind of cover themselves in case this deal doesn't go through, but it is. I do think it's definitely something to be interested by, why they're putting an opinion piece like that.
Yeah, it's very strange in my opinion, to be honest. I think none of the things that they've said is true. I think they might have a case on what you're saying about Lewandowski, but I mean, I think it's just an absolutely nonsense piece that has been put out from Bill today. We'll see if it has any significance. I'm not sure if it is going to have it or does have any significance in terms of what Bayern are trying to push out there, but I guess we'll have to wait and see over the next week or so what happens if Bayern come back with another bid or something like that. But I mean, I'm not too sure about it, to be honest.
So just coincidence this comes out after that meeting?
maybe not coincidence, but maybe, I don't know if it's anything to do with Bayern pushing it. Maybe it's just a piece from Bild and their opinion piece. I don't know. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you what it's relating to, but I guess if it is anything to do with Bayern and then putting anything in the press, we'll find out in the next week or so if they come back with that bid or not.
I don't think it's coincidence. I think they're covering themselves in case this deal doesn't go through as, we never wanted them anyway.
That's bullshit. I think look, if they're trying to form that narrative, they wouldn't be pushing for him the whole summer, literally the whole summer.
Yeah,
and then suddenly they'll be like, oh, no, we don't want him out now.
Exactly. That's what happens when the deal's too far apart and they don't think it can then get it done.
It's not even that too far apart, though. That's the thing.
It might not be, and deals might not get done. But I'm just saying, I think this is part of it. This is part of them kind of sowing the seeds of like, if this deal falls through, it's like, oh well, it doesn't really matter anyway. It was never really something that probably wouldn't work anyway, kind of thing. I've got a feeling there's something to do with that.
Yeah, look, you might be right, but I don't know. I have my reservations about that. But look, like I said, we'll see what happens over the next week, and if they do come back with another bid, then that can probably put that one to bed. Let's move on to the last story of the update, and there's been an email that has gone round to all season ticket holders today, and Spurs are about to trial or bring back the drummer into the South Stand. If you remember, at the old White Hart Lane, there was a drummer in the corner of the South Stand and the East Stand, which I thought brought absolutely unbelievable atmosphere to White Hart Lane. The email says that, dear supporter, the club recently consulted a number of supporter groups and conducted a survey of match-going supporters about a range of subjects relating to matchday atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The survey found that 64% of supporters in the South Stand felt that a drummer could help improve matchday atmosphere, something that worked well in the past at White Hart Lane. Feedback was that a drummer could prompt and maintain a rhythm for singing throughout the stadium, although new songs need to be more easily adopted. As part of our work with the return of the Shelf Group to relocate 50 like-minded fans who are particularly focused on creating atmosphere to Block 324, we'll be trialling a drummer with that group of supporters for the coming season. We have taken into account the views of those who were not in favour of the drummer. Please note the drum would only be used intermittently to prompt Spurs fans and chants. It would be used repetitively throughout matches, as is seen on the continent. So, I'm a massive fan of this. I've been calling for this pretty much since the drummer left the old White Hart Lane. I think it definitely... there was definitely something missing from the atmosphere at White Hart Lane after the drummer did leave, and I'm delighted that this is coming back, especially so close to us where we sit in the stadium as well.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think it's just good in general that the club are working with Return of the Shelf to try and improve the atmosphere and try and get more chanting to go from the crowds, because when that stadium gets going, it can really be something special. It can be rocking when the fans are loud, and the acoustics in the stadium really do keep in the noise. And we've seen on Champions League nights, and when that in the North London derby, when we beat Arsenal 3-0, like there's been very specific matches where the crowd have really been up for it, and the sound has been absolutely amazing. So I am really happy that Spurs are being proactive with other groups and really trying to improve the atmosphere, and that's a step in the right direction. So I'm definitely happy about that eventualities. Will a drum work or not? I think it will probably help. I think it will help. I can't see it hurting, to be honest. So I know at White Hart Lane it definitely did help, and it helped keep chants going and stuff like that, and it helped start chants as well. So especially in a big ground like the stadium, when the stand is so big, sometimes it can be hard to start chants to get the whole stand going, and to start chants like that, I think it's much more difficult than it was at the old White Hart Lane to do that. So I do think a drum will probably help get the whole stand in tune and get more consistent chanting, which is good news. At
the end of the day, yes, what you're right is saying it is good news and it will help enhance it, but at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to the fans and how up for it they are. As you say, we've seen games in the Champions League against Arsenal in the North London derby that we can make that stadium rocking if we really want. So if you have the drum, if you don't have the drum, it's still down to the fans to make that concerted effort like they did in those nights in the Champions League against Arsenal, to keep that going and make sure it's like that more or less every game, not just in the big games. Because it's all well and good having good atmosphere in these one-off big games, but we need to make it a consistent effort to really keep this atmosphere going and really supporting the boys on the pitch.
That should be the aim.
Yeah. So that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.